This is Kentucky's Voice Radio, covering the latest state and local issues with Tom Fallbush, Bob Scott, and Jim Waters.
And welcome to Kentucky's Voice, your homegrown Christian conservative talk radio show where faith, freedom, and common sense still matters. I'm your host, Bob Scott. If you would like to join in the discussion, you can text us at 502-571-0970. Again, that text line number is 502-571-0970. Today, we're diving into a conversation that hits home for every family in America, our health. Not the pharmaceutical version, not the media version, but real health rooted in how God designed our bodies to function. President Trump and RFK Jr. have made a bold move in nominating Dr. Casey Means as Surgeon General, sending a very clear signal that a second Trump administration, we are not just about making America great again, but we're about making America healthy again. MAHA isn't just a slogan, it's a movement. And our guest today is on the front lines of it. Before I introduce today's guest, I want to share a short clip Dr. Means had recently when she appeared on the Tucker Carlson show. Please play clip 4.
What don't you eat?
The number one thing that people need to understand is we need to stop eating ultra-processed food. Every Sunday, after I go to the farmer's market, I lay out all the foods, and I lay it all out on my counter, and I literally pray with it. This is awe-inspiring to me. This is all the atoms and the molecules that over the next week or two are going to make up my cells. They are going to become me. I am going to take on the characteristics of this food. I look at that food, and if I stop and let myself trust my intuition, I know this food is healthy for me. I just know it. To answer your question, what makes me feel good? It's the freshest, most beautiful foods that I have complete and utter awe for, because those molecules and atoms are going to go into my body. They're going to heal anything that's going wrong. They're going to change my gene expression. They're going to fortify my immune system. They're going to feed my microbiome, which makes 95% of my serotonin, which lets me think and have creative ideas and love my partner. It's going to be my partner and my bodies and my future children's bodies, right? I am in awe and reverence of food. I bless it because it's going to become me.
I do think you're going to change the world. I mean that.
And joining us today is Miranda Cloninger, founder of Reset with Miranda. Welcome back to the program, Miranda. Your program focuses on healing the body by restoring God's, basically the God-given function, if you will, not by slapping a label or masking problems or symptoms, which is something that is very common in today's world. And her powerful message, folks, is very simple. You are not your diagnosis. It's time to ditch the labels, restore what's been broken, and get back to health the way our Creator intended. And again, Miranda, what did you think about, Casey Means, and, how excited are you that she's been nominated to be the Surgeon General of this country?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you, Bob, for having me. It's an honor always to come in and chat with you. But Casey Means is my sister out there. It's going to take an army of us just standing for this. And unfortunately, it seems that, we're the odd people out trying to get people to eat real food when it's once upon a time it was the only way that it ever was capable of us to eat, right? It was until we came along and created all this ultra processed convenience food that disease went up, and all of these diagnoses, they're creating new ones every day. And so when she was nominated and I saw the food list that came out, I was just like, yes, it's my food list. That's what we're over here helping people do. And that's essentially what I do, is what she is talking about. I help people implement that, in their lives day to day, because it's what saved my life twice.
Yes. And I could say likewise. And, and tying that in, you often say, you are not your diagnosis. That's very important. I'll say that again. You are not your diagnosis, which is really honestly, it's a freeing message, I think, for those of us. Like most people, if you are sick, especially chronically ill, you're looking for answers and you want to get better. We as Christians, we believe our identity comes from God and not some medical chart. What do you mean when you say you are not your diagnosis?
Well, again, the labels, so I had several. The biggest one that really changed me was infertility. So everything about my journey in life was I wanted to be a mom. That's it. I wanted to be a mother. It was like a goal in life. I went to school to become a teacher so I could be the best mom that I could be. And so 10 years into, being married and trying to conceive and being told that I would have less than a 10% chance with in vitro to ever conceive, if I accepted that diagnosis, I wouldn't have two beautiful children that are 14 and 11. And that was the beginning of that journey, is questioning, okay, well, if my body's supposed to do this naturally, what am I missing? And in my particular journey, I was 100 pounds overweight. And the advice they give me is, maybe you could try to lose some weight. Well, I had spent my life trying to do that, right?
Yeah.
And so the information out there is just horrendous. And we take it at face value so that you become all the other labels that I was given, Hashimoto's, infertility, ADHD, insulin resistant, type 2 diabetes. And then you're given a stack of pills or a surgery and said, this is your life. Welcome to it. This is your new life. This is a strategy. It's either you're not sick enough yet, you're sick enough for a pill, or we've got to cut something out. There is no talk about how it got that way. Poof, I'm just sick. And there's no understanding or seeking of the root cause of all of this. And the reality is, until we come to the acceptance that we are causing our dysfunction by the choices and what we put into our body. I love what Casey was saying about blessing that food and being in awe.
Yes. Yeah. As did I.
So powerful. It's so powerful. God created that for our bodies. Like,
yes. And that's something we do every day, when we eat. And I think it's often overlooked, but it is so important to do that is a part of God's nurturing process to make us better. And, and from a Christian perspective, I guess, why is it dangerous to accept labels and contradict how God made us?
Well, then we're just accepting the enemies, like the enemy comes to lie, steal, and destroy.
Yes.
And so in the garden, who told Adam he was naked? We believed it at face value. We were being deceived in the same way, even with food, right? We wanted the one thing we were told that we couldn't have. And so we're trying to do it our way without God. And he told us what to do. He gave us everything that we need.
And he really did make it simple, didn't he?
It's pretty simple. It's actually so simple that people have a tough time believing that it is that simple.
Yes. Yeah, no, God is so good. And, the medical system, Miranda, does try to trap people into identifying with dysfunction as opposed to healing, And I know we only have a couple minutes to go in this segment because we could talk all show about this. But there is partially, I feel, a reason why they do that. And it centers around the word money. Because, if they keep you sick or to a state of dysfunction, if you will, you're going to become basically compliant and dependent on the drugs, that you're taking, which, by the way, can also cause 10 million other side effects as well that lead you to take other drugs to deal with those side effects. So it really is a never-ending cascading function. We only have about a minute to go in this segment. What are your thoughts?
Well, the synergistic effect of all of these medications that people are taking, and you stack the toxins that we're ingesting in our body, like it's a disease factory.
Yeah.
It's a disease factory. And until we decide to pull ourselves out of that and just remove those things one step at a time, which you absolutely can do, and educate ourselves, you're choosing it. You're choosing it. And we have to take that back. We have to take that back, just like we have to walk in faith, as Christians and believers. It's the same thing. We've got to walk in faith and trust that God gave us everything that we need. And it's not an easy road when we're talking about food addiction and, quick fix. And it's Amazon next day delivery on my healthcare. I can go get a prescription and I'm out, right? So.
Yeah, and that's exactly right, Miranda. It's really a simple process. Once you learn the process, we'll be talking about that here in a second. You're listening to Kentucky's Voice. We will be right back with my very special guest today, Miranda Cloninger. Stay tuned. Okay.
Radio online at kyvoice.org.
And welcome back to Kentucky's Voice with my special guest today, my friend Miranda Cloninger, founder of Reset with Miranda. You know, honestly, RFK Jr. Just made and I'm really going to understate this, historic announcement that President Trump has indeed signed an executive order cutting the cost of drugs by 80%, which is huge in its own right. But I just want you all to pay close attention to what else he had to say during this announcement, because to me, this was even bigger. Please go ahead and play clip number 1.
This is an extraordinary day. This is an issue that, I grew up in the Democratic Party, and every major Democratic leader for 20 years has been making this promise to the American people. This was the fulcrum of Bernie Sanders' runs for presidency, that he was going to eliminate this discrepancy between Europe and the United States. But as it turns out, none of them were doing it. It's one of these promises that politicians make to their constituents, knowing that they'll never have to do it. And the reason they'll never have to do it is because they know that Congress is controlled in so many ways by the pharmaceutical industry. There's at least one pharmaceutical lobbyist for every congressman, every senator on Capitol Hill, and every member of the Supreme Court. By some estimates, 3. Pharmaceutical companies, the industry itself spends 3 times what the next largest lobbyist spends on lobbying. So this was an issue that people talked about, but nobody wanted to do anything because it was radioactive. They knew you couldn't get it by Congress. We now have a president who is a man of his word, who has the courage. President Trump was taking money from the pharmaceutical industry too. I think they gave you $100 million. But he can't be bought, unlike most of the politicians in this country. And he is standing here for the American people. I don't know what, there's writers like Lord Elizabeth Warren or Robert Reich who are saying that President Trump is on this side of the oligarchs. There has never been a president more willing to stand up to the oligarchs than President Donald Trump. And I'm very, very proud of you, Mr. President, for your courage, I'll say, because I don't want to be crude, your intestinal fortitude, your stiff spine, and your willingness to stand up for the American.
And folks, did you hear that? He called out Big Pharma, by saying that they've essentially bought off politicians. Even mentioned that, that President Trump received $100 million in donations, I'm assuming, towards his campaign from Big Pharma. But despite that, as RFK Jr. said, he had the intestinal fortitude to press forward, and do the things that's going to be right for the everyday American. And, Miranda, it absolutely blew my mind. I kind of knew this, but the fact that they spend 3 times the amount of money lobbying politicians and even the Supreme Court. I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. But they're lobbying, and again, 3 times more than any other lobbying group on Capitol Hill. And, again, you have to ask the question, why are they doing that? Well, it's all about money, folks. And now this is a new day. There's a new sheriff in town, and by God's grace, we're going to see some things changing. And we are seeing things changing already. What are your thoughts about this, Miranda?
Oh, man. It's all about control. It's about the money and it's about control. If you keep the population volunteering for their own, demise, then there's a lot of money in that. And that's
there really is. And that's really what it comes down to. It's a really, if you add up everything across the board, it's a $1 trillion industry, and there's been people, let's just say that have been unalived, as a result of trying to stand up to this. And so, again, and that's why I often say we have to be praying, and we should be praying for the president and all of our current leaders right now in America, because we are in a really interesting time, as far as the nation is concerned, and we want to be moving forward with that. And, Miranda, we do see a contrast between mainstream health approach where dysfunction is managed and your approach where function is restored. Mm-hmm. Again, where function is restored. It sounds a lot like what President Trump is calling it under the Make America Healthy Again plan. What is dysfunction, and so often the focus, or why is dysfunction so often the focus in our current system rather than functionality?
Yeah, because dysfunction makes people a lot of money. because we are such a society where a quick fix is what we don't have any long range goals anymore. We don't have any, we're convenience food, the big gulp, the Amazon overnight or same day delivery. Like everything has got to be right now, that when you're given a medication, the 5 minutes of FaceTime that you get with your doctor when you're feeling bad, we're giving them their health, and we're giving, a pill is like, it's okay, I got what I wanted. And we take that at face value, because actually facing the fact that what I'm putting in my body could be causing my high blood pressure or my, obesity or, my type 2 diabetes or my autoimmune condition, that's not fun. Nobody wants to be wrong. We want to be right. And so if I'm sick and there's something wrong with me and I need the doctor and the doctor gives me a prescription, well, I'm right. I'm sick.
Yeah.
I'm uniquely broken.
Right. Right.
You get affirmed for, we get kind of negative affirmation for that when our brain works, and most of us are
Yes.
walking around seeking love in some capacity. It's why Facebook is addictive. It's why alcohol is addictive. It's why everything's addictive. You get what you want when you go get that quick fix, and we're masking this dysfunction, and all these pills stack for all of these diagnoses.
Yeah.
And the problem is growing under the surface.
Yes. And how does your program approach this, to do it a little bit differently, to get people thinking with a new mindset?
Great question, Bob. So what we do is we have to create health in the body. So a lot of people come to me for weight loss because I've lost over 100 pounds and reversed lots of autoimmune conditions, infertility, and things like that. And people think that you need to lose weight to get healthy, but the reverse is actually true. You become healthy and you lose the weight, because weight is a symptom. And so what we do is we give the body what it needs to create health. We have to remove toxins. Number one, that's the biggest problem that we have.
Yes.
Number two, we have to put in nutrition, which is real food, one ingredient foods that God gave us, right?
Yes.
And then we have to balance blood sugar, because once upon a time we couldn't be insulin resistant. We couldn't find enough carbohydrates in relation to the movement that we had to do in order to find them in order to be type 2 diabetic. It should not exist. So we have to balance blood sugar, and in a stressed state, that's even harder to do, which is why we have to do all of these things at once. And we've got to calm down the body's stress response. So our stress response dictates all metabolic function. And so we can actually, most of the things that stress our body from the inside out, are self-created.
Yeah. Amen. And can you share just a short story? We have a little bit over a minute to go of someone that you've been able to actually help.
Well, I mean, there's been over 2,000 people all over the country, but the one that comes to mind that had just amazing results so quickly, that lives locally here, is Gina. She was basically me. She was diagnosed with infertility and thyroid, disorders and all of these things. Was about 100 pounds overweight. She came to me, did the reset, and in 8 weeks, she came off 6 medications and
Wow.
40 pounds.
Wow.
And all that is real food education on how to do it. And she had spent, her entire life, seeking these solutions. And that's how she got on all those medications that weren't helping her. And we were able to eliminate them left and right as her body did the work, and her skin started to glow. Her whole life shifted into just positivity. She was able to make such dramatic changes in her life and other areas because she was now fueled properly and could think straight and didn't have brain fog and all the other things that come along with the symptoms and the medications and the side effects.
And that's the beautiful thing. There is a change that is possible. If you're willing to take that step, reach out, make a difference. You listen to Kentucky's Voice. We'll be right back in the next segment with Miranda Cloninger. Stay tuned.
Radio online at kyvoice.org.
And welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. My special guest today is Miranda of Reset with Miranda. She's the founder of this wonderful company that's changing lives. And Miranda, I do have another clip from Dr. Callie Means, which talks about the basics of eating properly to achieve good metabolic health, and how important good metabolic health, which is getting more and more conversation now, is to every human being. Please play clip number 3.
Recommend for people to put in every meal, which is 5 things in, ideally every day and in every meal, which is a healthy protein source, an omega-3 source, an antioxidant source, a fiber source, and a probiotic source. And if you can basically make a little mental list of a few of your favorite foods from each of those 5 categories, and then have your kitchen stocked with them, and essentially make creating a meal a mix and match between a few of the foods from each of those categories, you are so far on your way to meeting the needs of the cells.
And Casey Means, Dr. Means, who I bought her book, Good Energy, several months ago, and started reading that before the election. She and her brother Callie were 2 of the main reasons that really honestly helped get President Trump across the finish line to be elected president of the United States. And of course, she's now up for U.S. Surgeon General right now. And I know that there's going to be a strong fight to try to keep her out, just like the Democrats. And again, that's the thing I don't understand. How can you, anybody, Democrat, Republican, moderate, I don't care what you are, how can you be opposed to doing things that are going to make America healthy again, unless you have, and I'll say it, unless you have some kind of skin in the game from a financial aspect. It makes no sense to me. What are your thoughts, Miranda?
Exactly that. Like, it makes no sense. Like, I was just going back to the intro of your show about common sense, because why would you choose something that's making people sick? Like, you go against the facts. That's one of the things that baffles me the most about just the way we hand things over. I think I shared the example of Gina that came to our program. How many real people do you want to talk to that this has happened for? How many? A couple thousand? I've got them.
Yeah, right.
Do you ask your doctor for the results for this medication that you are providing to me that is causing results? And that's actually the dilemma that's happening with the Ozempic thing right now, is people are getting results. The scale is changing, but they don't know at what cost. And that's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother week-long seminar right there about the problems that's causing. But and they
are causing real problems,
really bad problems. And I just have so much compassion for them, having been really overweight. I understand the desperation, and when it's working, of course you're going to believe it when it's working. But they can't see. I mean, I nearly died, over exercising and under eating. And, I was, even with real food and doing it the right way, I did it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just catastrophic. And so, being bold about the message, just what administration is doing right now is going to help open the doors for people and bring the awareness so people can start asking the questions. And that's why I want to be here. I want to help people do it, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to have the awareness, but what do I actually do? So what she just shared, so right. If you set your house up with these basic things, your environment, you can win. And it can be easy. It doesn't have to be, after you learn what to do, it can be easy to do that. And it's way faster than we think. That the body is miraculous, can turn it around.
Yeah. The Bible says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, and we are made in His image, and as I walk through my own health crisis, I have, let's just say, become compelled to share with anyone that's willing to listen, that there is a better way. That you can rise out of the most difficult of situations. I, like you, Miranda, had obviously different situations going on, but I had ulcerative colitis, and I was, for the most part, being told by several medical, quote unquote, health professionals, telling me that I was going to have to be on these biologics and long-term medications for the rest of my life. And I knew deep down in my spirit that I wasn't hearing that or feeling that. And that's when I started searching for a better way. And thank God I found it. And there is a better way, to put yourself in a position of healing, and getting to where, you're going to be in better health. And, what does Dr. Casey Means represent right now? At this moment in history, as far as the health world is concerned, and why is her nomination so important? Because I've mentioned earlier, she is going to be opposed for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, somebody's got to take that stance. And the fact that I think that she is a woman, I think will really be powerful, because of, people just have a way of stereotyping politics and things like that. So to her have a little bit of a softer but yet strong voice for households, like to be able to make these changes, not only for the adults, but we've got to be thinking about the kids. And that's one of the things that, I didn't want my kids to have to go through these things.
Yeah.
And, what came to me as you were talking about, like you said that we were different, but actually what we did to heal our bodies was 99% the same.
That's right. Yeah.
The 1% of where we're unique and different, the concepts are 99% the same. And that's what I help people understand. And that's what's so powerful about what they're doing, is because she's sharing the universal truth that we're missing. We're trying to fix all of these things with these, pills and potions and the new science. And, you watch on the TV, all the advertisements for the happy people taking the injections, whatever. Like it's just deception. And the truth is simple, it's bold, and it's available. And that's what they are doing, is they are making it available and putting it out there. And people like you and I are here to help lead that charge. I'm like raising my hand. You need help doing that? Like, I will show you how to do it, right? Like, it's one thing to hear it and know that I need to. It's another thing to actually like make that 180 for my home and the way that I shop and the way that I go out to eat. And we think it has to be terrible, but it's actually the opposite. It's everything. It's life. It's abundance. It's the way that people are living in the dysfunction and disease is terribly hard.
Yeah.
Making a change is not.
And they really, unfortunately, start to come to accept it. The doctors, the all-knowing, all-seeing guru. And let me be very clear on this. I'm not running down doctors. There's some great doctors out there, and there's a need, especially in acute situations where you have appendicitis or a broken bone or something like that. There's a need for that, and thank God for hospitals. But what I am saying, what we're saying is metabolically, there are things that you can do to start addressing things from a internal standpoint and just touch a bit. We have a little bit over 2 minutes to go in this segment, but what is your philosophy at Reset with Miranda?
Well, the philosophy is that the body knows how to heal itself. Like, God gave us everything that we need, and we have all the proof of that. So if you get a cut or a scrape on your arm, you don't need to take a pill or a potion to know how to heal that up. Your body will do that. But if I had a cut like that and I continue to cut it over and over and over again, it's going to turn into a gaping wound, and my body can't heal faster than I'm doing the damage. That is where we find ourselves. We are doing damage way faster than our bodies can heal. And so when we get out of the body's way and give it what it needs, we get what we want.
Yeah. And what message does this send, Miranda, to Americans, the everyday Joe out there, about the direction of our healthcare?
Well, hopefully the direction is even though it's shifting, is I hope that you take heed that this is different. Mm-hmm. I hope that you're feeling the disruption and asking questions. Like, ask why you're doing what you're doing. Ask if it's working. Like, what proof do you have that it's working? Right?
Yes.
And as a believer, ask, like, is this something that was available to humanity like once upon a time? Mm-hmm. Right? you
Yeah.
know? And so we can use modern conveniences in science. And this is where I think we get totally, shifted into, oh, there's this new medication that's going to be my savior. And I'm like, we already have one. We don't need all of this. And so I really hope that people are paying attention to the disruption. I believe that they are. And ask questions, and seek and you shall find.
The greatest advice, and thank you, that I got as I finally found a functional medicine person to help me was he said, Bob, for you to regain your health, and you're going to regain it, he said it's important that you become the CEO of your own health and don't rely on any quote unquote medical professional, but you rely on yourself and God, in the process. Well, anyway, you're listening to Kentucky's Voice. We'll be back with our final segment with Miranda Cloninger. Stay tuned.
Voice Radio online at kyvoice.org.
And I want to welcome everybody back to our show today here on Kentucky's Voice with my special guest, Miranda Cloninger, with Reset with Miranda. Again, if you'd like to text a question in, you can do so by texting 502-571-0970, 502-571-0970. I do have, Miranda, a quick clip, another one that'll be the final one, that I want to play from President Trump. Another huge announcement, as he would say, huge announcement that China will stop the flow of fentanyl into our country. They have been poisoning our country. Please go ahead and play clip number 5.
I'd like to go back to China just for a second. They're very heavy on the fentanyl. We're charging them, as you know, 20% for the fact that they send fentanyl into our country. And they've agreed that they're going to stop that. And, you know, they'll be rewarded by not having to pay, hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. So the fentanyl should stop. It comes from China. It's amazing. And comes through our southern border, comes through our northern border, too, comes through Canada, and comes through our southern border, much more through the southern border. But so that's a very important subject to me, because everybody in this room has lost friends or people that have family members that have died of fentanyl. So there's a big incentive for China to stop, and I take them at their word. They're going to work on that, I think, very hard. And one thing.
Well, taking China at its word is a big mouthful to swallow. But one thing I do know about the communist Chinese, money's very important to them. And Trump knows exactly to hit them where it's going to hurt the worst, and that's in their pocketbook. And he actually, again, folks, he was doing something about it. He put up a 20% tariff on that, just added it on as a result to try to address the drug problems. And just so everybody's clear on this, most of the fentanyl, if not all of it, that was flowing into this country was coming from communist China via Mexico. And we all have been impacted. I have known people, I'm sure Miranda's known people, you who are listening to the show today or watching it on TV, you know people that have been affected by this, and Trump is the first president in my lifetime that is actually willing to step to the plate and try to stop this. I don't know if it's going to be completely stopped, but at least it's being addressed. And as a result of that, lives will be saved. Your thoughts, Miranda?
Oh my gosh, it's a huge move. Because like we talked earlier, and I know we've talked about before on previous episodes, it's all about addiction. The problem that we're actually facing here when it comes to America, that he's stepping in front of his addiction. And so by cutting off that supply, it's a huge deal. And so the first thing that kind of comes to mind, what it really has an impact on my world, because a lot of people come to me for weight loss, and just a growing epidemic is the whole, Ozempic, Wegovy, and that addiction that's forming there. It's a crisis that I am significantly worried about, because when, for some people it can be used as a tool to move to a healthy diet. And for those people, and if their goal is to get off of that, kudos to them. But in most cases, what I'm seeing in support groups is that when people stop getting the results at the pace that they want to, the recommended thing is to go get more of the shot. And how do I find it cheaper, faster, better? There's a new compound that works faster. Where do I inject it? So much so that it disrupts the communication between the gut and the brain, which is devastational in and of itself. It's going to affect dopamine and serotonin levels, which is a mental health crisis. When we talk about digestion and nutritional, it's going to affect everything when it's blocking that. And people are having such digestional issues, and they can't go to the bathroom, that there's actually a cultural thing inside these groups that they all know to get these toxic gummy bears on Amazon so that they can go to the bathroom when they haven't gone to the bathroom in a week. Yeah,
no, and it's again, it's an addiction, pure and simple, And it seems like every day some new negative news is coming out on that. I did get a text in, and they asked Miranda, how do you feel about workfare as an alternative to Medicaid? A productive person is more healthy and aware.
Well, honestly, I'm not familiar with what that is.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't either. I thought
Yeah.
that maybe you would know.
Well, I stay very far away from insurance.
Yeah.
For reasons.
Yeah,
So
and-
it's
and-
probably something new.
Yeah, and as do we as well. And
Mm-hmm.
but at least people are now thinking and looking
Yeah, absolutely.
in the direction for other alternatives. Again, becoming the CEO of your own health is what we're talking about. And I know that you've got you're always doing something and have things coming up. And one of the things is a program. It's called Ditch the Diagnosis Challenge.
Yes.
What is that? And tell our folks a little bit about it.
Yeah. So the problem that we face is education, right? And so when it comes to, because we want a quick fix, the problem that I have in educating people is once I can spend some time with them, that it's just like, it's a no-brainer to move in this direction. People need help. And so my heart is, how do I bless people with as much information as possible and an experience so that you can learn how to trust this process? Because we've all been burned so much when it comes to our health. Like how do you know that you can trust me or our community with this? And so the Ditch the Diagnosis Challenge is a 7-day challenge that we're going to be launching. We're getting the buttons, everything buttoned up to start that and create a really awesome experience so that you will actually come out with like all of the food lists that you need in order to completely change your health and the methodology on how it works. And so for like $7, you get to show up and spend a week with us in our community, and thousands of people who have used this. Don't just hear it from me, hear it from our community and experience who we are and what we do so that you can see that hope is possible, and that for a fraction of what people are spending on their medications or copays or what they will pay in the future, that you can actually turn this around now and for the rest of your life and be a cycle breaker for not only yourself, but your family. Like, it's crucial.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an educator. Like, you're going to come out with an education, not only after that week-long experience, but like that will change your life. That 7 days can absolutely change your life, and you will be equipped.
Yes. Now, will this be done, I'm assuming, online? Is that how
Yes.
you're doing? Okay.
So people can see me on social media. If you wanted to reach out to me, you could actually send a text the word reset to 812-441-4898. That's 812-441-4898. And you get me. I will text you back if you have any questions. I'm happy to talk to you. Like, I'm a person and you're a person. I want to hear your story and hear what you're going through. And so anybody that kind of gets connected to me now, when that goes live, you'll be able to join that challenge. It's all over social media and things like that. So that that's my goal, is to have impact, right? So to be bold and take a stand and show people, because people need help doing it.
Yeah.
And that's what, I've lived those things as you have.
Yeah.
And I want to help people actually do it.
I couldn't have done it without my health coaches, in the process. And I did mine completely online as well. So I couldn't agree any more with you. And, and it will give people a chance to empower themselves, and learn that vital information on how they can get on the road to better health. And I guess my final question, and we just have about 2 minutes to go in the show today. What's your message to someone who's been told this is just how it is, who basically feels stuck and hopeless? And I'm sure there's viewers and listeners to our show today that are right in that position.
Yeah, that's not the truth. There are so many people who, no matter what your unique diagnosis is or situation is or circumstances, there is always better. There is always better. And if real food is not the foundation of what you are doing, if everything that you are putting in your mouth on a daily basis is a one ingredient food like apple, chicken, broccoli, spinach, steak, you have to start there. You cannot assume the end is the end, or you are stuck where you're at if that is not happening. And that is the first place. And I literally say, when we do that, 95% of people get 95% better. And then there's things above and beyond that we can do, but we don't start with the minutia. We start with the core foundation that humanity needs, which is what administration